All right, for anyone playing along at home, the only stuff that we missed from me forgetting to start the recording was our start slide right here, which you could pause the video and read all of these things. And of course, this is supposed to say negative numbers down at the bottom where you can't quite see that because the G is cut off. So now we just wrote these down and we're about to solve them kind of rapid fire. So we're going to go through first and not do math. Let's just think about the sign. So for a negative times a negative, what's that going to be? Anybody? Positive. So we don't really need to write the positive, but I'm going to. Negative times negative.
Positive.
Positive times negative. Negative. Positive times negative. Negative. Negative times positive. Negative. Even though they put this in parentheses, they didn't really need to. Some people fall in a trap door when they see the extra parentheses. Negative 2 times negative 6. Positive. Right now, let's go back and do math since we don't need to think about the signs now. 6 times 8.
48.
Yeah, we got a couple. So wait, 8, 16, 24, doubled 24. I think it's 48.
Nice.
6 times 1.
6.
9 times 8.
72.
Oh yeah, do 8 times 10 and then come back by 8. So if I think 8 times 9, that's sometimes easier to think about. But yeah, 72. 5 times 9.
45?
Yeah, because again, we could do 5 times 10 and then take 5 off of it. 7 times 7.
49.
2 times 6.
12.
There we go. So make sure that when we would look at these answers, it would be the entire positive 48, positive 6, negative 72, negative 45, negative 49, positive 12. Any questions on those kind of rapid fire multiplications? Those problems were causing some people to make some minor mistakes in our Khan Academy work. And then, guys, so to give you like a briefing on the week, I'm essentially trying to use this week as a midterm catch-up week. We're halfway through the quarter. As of this past Friday, that was week 5, right? So our quarter ends October 30th. I need to get some actual grades. So the end of this week is like, what, October 10th or something like that? So we today are really doing more of our learning in Unit 2, but by Wednesday, we're going to be taking the mastery on Unit 1, right? So Unit 1 was addition, subtraction of positives and negatives. But what we're doing today is Unit 2 work. So for anyone like trying to keep things straight in your brain, if you're behind and you're still working on addition, subtraction, remember the rules are different. So that's why we went through that rapid fire multiplication to start, is to talk about like just some reminders of those rules. So now, if you want to jot a picture of this down in your notes, don't necessarily, well, you can count the tick marks if you want. I was going to say, don't necessarily mark everything out exactly yet, but we can if we want. This question's throwing a lot of people for a loop, and I think it's because you're not writing things down. Like, you're looking at Khan Academy, and you're saying, oh, I don't need to write anything down because it's on Khan Academy. So if I start from the 0, I think I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then I have the X. And then 1, 2, 3, 4 out the other direction before the Y. And they ask us negative or the opposite of X times Y. Hold on, yeah. You're welcome. I'm still getting used to how I can do all this stuff, and that's not exactly what I wanted to happen. Still trying to figure out how to get my screen a little bit bigger. So here's what I drew. Here's my 0, right? It doesn't have to be perfect, and I should probably start changing colors so everything isn't just written in blue. Although today's a blue day, right? That kind of makes sense. So here's where things get dangerous. X, well, guys, the biggest advice I can give you is make an approximate value for X. What's X really close to?
7.
Yeah, 6 or 7, right? We could pick 6 or 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I think x is a little closer to 6. So we could just say 6 if we wanted to. Y, if we want to make an approximate value for it, we went down 1, 2, 3, 4, and then there was y. But still, we could say it's approximately -4. So then, if we substitute in, this is what keeps messing people up. This says the opposite of what x is. So in this case, x starts positive, but y, when we substitute it in, is negative. If we just do what I have written in red here, then the opposite, or the negative in front, guys, I see some people not doing this with me, and those people haven't even done this assignment yet. I have a grade report printed from Friday, and I looked at it this morning, and I can tell you, some people sitting in this room should really be watching what we're doing. A +6 times a -4. What's a positive times a negative? Negative. Oh, that might be too close. So this becomes -24, but the original opposite that existed in the problem now says, well, what's the opposite of -24? Positive 24. And you don't need to write the plus. Now, I don't care about the 24, and we approximated to get there. What I care is that the answer is positive, because it's asking us what is the sign of the opposite of x times y. Any questions on this one of how we approximate values for the x and the y and go from there? Everybody should take a drink of water. One of the biggest issues with us wearing masks all day is you guys aren't drinking very much, and I think some of us are getting like upset or not thinking clearly by the end of the day because we're dehydrated. And if you don't have a water bottle, you should really start bringing one. Or you probably have one in your lunch, right? You could get that out right now. So the same type of rule, or like question, sorry, not really rule, but asked about division. So we again should approximate a value for y, approximate a value for x. And last week we talked about some rules relating to this specific problem, because what is happening here that makes it follow some specific rules. I apparently have lost my other thing. Aha, here's all my Sharpies. I hid them for the weekend. What's going on in this specific number line that makes this problem particular or special? One of the numbers is 0. So when we think about y divided by x, so we could write down on our paper y divided by x. Y here is 0. X is a negative who cares. We can use the hashtag symbol, which actually is the number symbol. So, I mean, you could put like -1 if you wanted. But all I care is that I'm just putting negative number.
Can you slow down for a sec?
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
I was about to say, somebody not Stella, because you just talked, do we remember our special rule when we have a 0 on top? And if not, you can look back in your notes from last week. Hey guys, reminder, now that we're at school, I let you use your notes on tests and quizzes, like sometimes, not always. So if you keep your notes in a binder nice and organized, like I talked about last week, it'll be a huge benefit when we start doing, because guys, literally when I go to make our tests, I'm going to look back in our notes and say, what did we do? And I will pull questions from our notes. I have literally every page of notes that we've written down in this class. And you should too, but if you don't, it's okay. Excuse me, Unit 2 is a perfect time to start taking really good notes. All right, I guarantee when I say this one word, you'll all remember it. Lily, why do we remember donuts from last week?
You like no friends and no donuts, so then you didn't give it to me.
So is this no donuts or is this no friends?
This is no donuts.
This is no donuts, right? I can have no donuts. I have no donut. Like either way, 0 divided by anything, what's this answer become? 0. Now just for example's sake, what if I had 5 donuts, but I don't exist, my friends don't exist, nobody exists? Can we divide by 0? No, what's this answer become? No, careful. If we divide by 0, it's undefined. So guys, remember, the reason we had Siri try to help us out is to talk about it doesn't make sense to divide by 0. So 0 on top gets 0. Anytime 0's on top of a number, this has to be a number, a not 0 number. But when we have the 0 in the denominator, that's what breaks it and gets our answer of undefined. So 0 in the denominator, that's what gets our undefined answer. And I told you guys to write down the word undefined last week, but if you did not, or if you already forgot it, you might as well write it down again. It's not going to hurt you to write it down again. Step Brothers? Why is she talking about? I do love some Will Ferrell, though. Try this on your own for a second. Sorry, any questions back here from when we had 0 on top of the division? Yeah, what's up, Sydney?
Alright, can you just hold on for a second?
Yeah, absolutely. I have an idea.
What are your dogs' names?
Timber, Sebastian, Marley, and Nico, who I sometimes call Nikolai, like Nikolai Tesla. We did not name any. Well, no, we named Sebastian. Timber, we think they named him Timber because he leans on you and will legitimately fall over if you just like jump out of the way. I'm not joking. And he sleeps on you like a pile of potatoes. Or like, I don't know if you guys ever like lifted anything that's just really awkward weight, that like just like a bag of potatoes is really kind of awkward weight.
My great uncle.
What? Your great uncle? That's
My
Sydney, what's up?
I have a baby German Shepherd named Nico.
Oh man, a baby German Shepherd. I remember when Marley was a baby. We're going to do -4, which we could put in parentheses, times A times B. Now guys, a lot of math does not put the multiplication symbols between, but that's just because a variable up against anything multiplies. So notice this just looks like -4AB when we look at how like it is shown in the text, like from the computer. And then they give us this little, I'm going to put is this a colon or a semicolon?
Colon?
I can't ever remember. I honestly, like, that's something I have not remembered all the way. Like, I've never memorized it perfectly. I need to, because, you know, I'm a teacher.
Isn't the semicolon the
It
one?
has like a
It's the-
comma.
With the, yeah.
That's just a colon.
Okay, so this is a colon. At least if we all agree, then if we're wrong together. So I use the colon in math to split up. You guys are good. Can I help with something? And like need a pencil or something? What are we good? What's weird is, guys, like, I don't care if you need to say something to each other during class. I just want to help if I need to help. Like if somebody's missing a pencil or whatever else. Even if we're 20 minutes into class and like we need something, you just got to let us know. So either you guys need anything? You sure? We got pencils? Martin, you got a pencil? Okay. I was about to say I just couldn't see it. Okay, well, since you guys grabbed my attention, Martin or Isaiah, what do these things tell us? A is something, B is something. Yeah, that A is bigger than 0, which really means positive, and B is smaller than 0, which really means negative. So I love how you said that, Isaiah. I know A is positive, B is negative. So let's make up numbers to fill in for that.
17.
Well, okay, don't get crazy. It's Monday morning. I'm not trying to like actually do math. I'm just writing things down so Mr. Hudson doesn't yell at me. So
You are Mr.
I know, I was making a joke about like you guys are just writing things down. You don't actually want to like do math.
I do want to do
So
math.
let's do a positive number that's not too crazy, like 3,
What? Well, that's the first number that came from my
and a negative number that's not too crazy. I don't know, like -2.
Hey, called it.
But guys, it doesn't care what the answer is. It's only asking us for the sign. And the sign of a negative times a positive times a negative. What happens when we have two negatives?
It becomes a positive.
It becomes a positive. Thank you, Nate. So this whole thing is going to become positive, Nate tells us. And now I can do the math of 4 times 3. Okay, 12 times 2, 24. So Nate said this comes out to be positive 24, and I would believe you, good sir. So this is not just straight up negative times negative. It's negative times negative, but there are two negatives involved in multiplication or division, which means it becomes positive. Lily.
Does your fire alarm make like a weird sound? Because it has that thing on it.
No, that would be awesome. But this was just a gift from a previous student. So I'm a drummer.
Yeah.
So it's actually like a little drummer dude. I didn't have anywhere else to put it, and that was kind of a perfect little perch for him. And since this makes noise, you know, I thought it was kind of funny. Like the thing that makes a bunch of noise has a drummer sitting on it.
Yeah.
But it is super cool. It's like just welded out of little metal pieces.
Don't we do a fire drill this week?
What?
Don't we do a fire drill this week?
Yes, I forget when.
When?
Hey, Mr. Flynn.
What about? What? It's just randomly starts.
This just came up in conversation with my kids. I don't even know how they know it. What time's the fire drill today? That would be the best time of day to do it. Thank you.
What time is it?
Late in the day, like
Oh, thank
extensions.
goodness. Yeah.
I don't know if somehow you guys found out some insider information or you're just remembering.
Yeah, you told us on
I did?
Yeah.
Oh, well.
You did. Walking.
Whatever.
When we were walking.
Oh, because we did the, yes, I remember that now. Because we did the rally point drill. We turned a walk into a rally point drill.
But it's so cold.
Try this one on your own. If I gave you problems like this on the mastery, well, I might throw a couple multiplication divisions at you on the mastery just to see how we're doing. But mainly I'm going to be checking mastery of addition, subtraction. So guys, I might give you some multiplication division problems on the mastery that don't matter towards you getting mastery. Like, I just want to see them. Like, see how you solve them. Somebody tell me what they chose for X. Just shout it out, man.
5, 4, 7.
All amazing choices. Anyone tell me what you chose for Y?
2, 3, -2.
-4.
Ooh, it's got to be negative, right? So be careful. Whatever you choose for X and Y, make sure that X is positive because it's bigger than 0. And that Y is negative. So here's what I chose. 2 and 3. Nice, easy, close to 0, simple numbers to work with. But remember, all we care about is what's the sign. Positive, positive, negative. What's it going to turn into? Anybody?
Negative.
Negative. It stays negative because it has nothing to partner up with. And 3 times 3 is 9 times 2. Now yours is probably different because you probably chose different values.
-30.
But as we write things down, you could, like Isaiah told us, kind of make a note. X is positive, Y is negative, because greater than 0, less than 0. All right, are we ready to shift gears off of that sort of stuff?
Yes.
I think we're feeling pretty good with that.
Uh,
Pop quiz.
Yes.
no.
Yes.
Oh, I know.
You just said no.
I know. But now I say yes. Or now I say a less.
Can anyone not Stella tell me why she went from no, I don't want to do this to yes so quickly? Nate?
It's a 0.
What
Oh, I
about
didn't
a
even-
0?
I didn't even see the 0.
I know, that's why you got to keep your pouty attitude to yourself at
Because
first.
when something times 0, it stays 0.
Ah, when there is something times 0, but Nate, that involves division too.
Yeah.
No, not my bad. Just keep explaining yourself. Don't pull back on something just because I push for you to explain it more. What is 0 divided by negative 3?
0.
0. And what would negative 9, so you said this in the parentheses is 0. So what we actually have is negative 9 times, because 0 divided by anything is 0, Nate identified this is 0. So what's negative 9 times 0? Well, anything times 0 is 0. So absolutely, if we see a 0 in a numerator, that is 0. If we multiply by a 0, it is 0. Any questions on these 0 rules? I wish there were 0 rules. Ha ha ha. No? Okay.
It'd be total chaos.
Okay, yeah, I kind of agree with that. I said that before I actually thought.
Come on, Mr. Hudson.
Alright, I'm going to keep picking on people I haven't really, heard from today. So, take a moment. Now, everybody take a moment to think about this. You haven't even taken any time to read it.
I haven't.
Now, we could write things down, but I'm curious. I was actually going to let Stella do this one, but Lacey, we can come to you.
It is positive.
Why?
Well, first they both start off positive, but then you put negative signs in front of both of them, so it's negative times negative, which is positive.
Yeah, so the first thing I'm going to write down is kind of the first thing that Lacey noticed. If x is greater than 0 and y is greater than 0, then these are both positive numbers. The problem sets up negative x over negative y, which is really the opposite of x over the opposite of y. The opposite or negative of a positive, I don't know, we could choose 5 and 7, something like that. So if we did negative 5 over negative 7, negative divided by a negative is a positive, as you said, and because we don't care about the value, the answer we care about just is positive. Sorry, my P looks like an R. I got distracted by Miss Voles creeping into my classroom for some reason.
I had something to say to you, but it's so inconsequential compared to watching how cool this is.
My setup or what?
Leave you alone, but come back later to ask. This is such a cool setup.
Well, thank you. I do like my little command center penalty box. So and the thing is, I'm recording this right now because I know for sure we have one student out of class, and any other kids that are absent or missed class for whatever reason. So I could, if I wanted to be crazy, also turn on my webcam and put my face up there, but then it's kind of awkward that I'm here and there for these kids. Yeah, you know what I mean. And it makes my computer crash about 50% of the time. So.
This is amazing. You only have 5 monitors, though. 6.
3 that I use. Let's be honest, that desktop computer isn't really in use right now.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
6. See,
I mean, don't forget about the TV on the floor.
Hold on.
7.
The TV on the floor that doesn't get used. All right, everyone write this down. Negative 3/4 F. We are shifting.
Slow down.
Possibly, maybe. Okay. Sorry, Miss Voles came in. We all got distracted.
Slow down.
So what ended up happening, if we slow down. No, I'm just teasing. I like slowing down. I need you guys to tell me to slow down because otherwise I just go really fast.
You talk really fast.
I know. Well,
All the teachers complain that you're very loud.
okay, I'm not that loud this year because in a mask, I give myself a headache if I am too loud. But when I'm like up at the board and moving around, I do get pretty excited and I like yell sometimes.
I get lightheaded when I have my last.
You guys also have me right as I've like been drinking coffee for the morning. So the big thing that we needed to be able to remember to solve that problem is that a negative divided by a negative comes out to be a positive because there are two negatives there. That's better. That's much better. Get rid of those little menus. All right, we got to shift gears because I got to solve a couple of these problems and we only have 10 minutes left. This is in our new work that I believe is not due until the 7th.
Alright.
Thanks, Nate. I appreciate knowing that, and yes, I did see that this morning. Some of you guys are already done with this, but this is good stuff to review because a lot of us are struggling with it while we try this new stuff. So I'm going to jump to the top of my paper just because I feel like it makes sense. I'm going to change colors because this stuff's hard.
Orange.
Okay.
I don't know. Orange.
I mean, you said it.
Yay.
Negative 3/4 times f. Okay. In my brain, I was thinking, Micah, you didn't want to put that so close to the left, and then instead of f, I put 5.
I do that all the time.
Negative 3/4 times the f. Yeah, I can't talk and write at the same time. It's dangerous. Guys, this is tough. Tough math alert. T-O-U-G, that's a G. Tough math alert. Why this is tough is it doesn't actually fall into the rules we've been talking about. The rules we've been talking about is if we have multiplication, do division to get rid of it or to undo it. But the issue here is that division by a fraction is the same as multiplication by the reciprocal. Now we're going to write this down, but I'm going to jump down to the bottom of my paper to do it. So a color we haven't used today, kind of like this pinkish, whatever you want to call it. So I'm going to make a note down at the bottom. You could make it right here if you want, but I'm going to come down here and say division by a fraction is the same as multiplying with the reciprocal. Meaning, we take the fraction that we're trying to divide by. I might actually use highlighter to indicate this. Lacey?
I just blinked out. What's a reciprocal again?
Reciprocal is the flipped fraction. Thank you.
Okay.
So we should make a note on that too. Good question. Sorry, I got stuck saying the word good there for a second. It was a really good question. So reciprocal is the flipped fraction. So flip the fraction. And guys, here's the why this works. Multiplying by a fraction is actually multiplying by the negative 3 and then dividing by the 4. So down here, division is, this is what's ridiculous. This is actually saying divide by 1 and then divide by 2, which, like, yeah, then it actually multiplies. So This is why, like, the rule is so complicated, but all we actually have to do is flip the operation and flip the fraction. So I'm going to write out the in-between step. I don't necessarily advise that you write out the in-between step, okay? Here's the in-between. We take negative 3/4 f, and we say, well, since you were multiplied by negative 3/4, divide by negative 3/4. You don't necessarily have to write this out. If you don't want to, it's up to you. The next step I will ask that you write out. Now, a number divided by itself, we could even say this is like 7f divided by 7, right? We could replace one number with another number just to kind of play with it for a minute. A number divided by itself is 1. So this side will give us 1. But how we get there is so confusing for our brain of understanding negative 3/4 divided by negative 3/4. And especially, what in the world am I supposed to do over here? I have 5/4 of something that I'm going to split up into pieces that are 3/4. It's really complicated. So instead, what we do is change the operation and flip the fraction. So what your teachers have maybe like told you to do before, KCF stands for keep, change, flip.
Yeah.
Yeah, Kentucky chicken.
It is not Kentucky Fried Chicken.
Kentucky Fried Chicken.
Keep, change, flip. What I mean by that is keep the first thing, change division into multiplication, and then flip the fraction. So division changes into multiplication. The fraction flips over. So as long as we change division to multiplication, we can flip the fraction. And the same thing happens on the right side. 5/4 times, yeah, I can save that. 4 times negative 3.
So is the whole fraction negative or just the denominator?
So remember, fractions.
Yeah, that's what I thought, but
Fractions are just division. So we have one of the values in the division is negative, which makes, quote unquote, makes the fraction negative.
so the whole thing's negative.
Sure, we could put the negative out in front.
Okay.
So if you want to make like a little side note, I'm not going to put this on my notes because they're already complicated enough. 4 divided by negative 3 is the same thing as negative 4 divided by positive 3 is the same thing as negative 4/3. It doesn't matter if the fraction's on bottom, on top, or out in front. It's also the same thing as without the parenthesis. I don't know why my brain put a 4. Negative 4/3, like with no parenthesis, or we could put it in the parenthesis but out front. Literally all these are the same. In my brain, I like to put the negative on top, but because I didn't want to move which number had the negative, I went ahead and left the negative on the 3. So what this becomes, I'm going to write another like in between. Negative 3 times 4 is negative 12. 4 times negative 3 is negative 12. And the f still exists over there. Remember when we multiply straight across. 5 times 4, 20. 4 times negative 3, negative 12. A number divided by itself. Always 1. Guys, I got some people not writing with me, and I am going to be done in like 2 minutes, I promise. So we get 1f, which we don't really need to write 1f because I don't say 1 Nate. I just say Nate. I don't say 1 Stella. I just say Stella. 20 over 12, I know they're both even. So Stella, here's where I'm going to move that negative. So you see how I have 1 negative down there? I'm just going to go ahead and say negative 10 over 6. And I move that negative into the front. Now they're still both even. So I can divide again, get negative 5/3. So F really, if I move my negative again and move it up top, this is how I like the number better, is with the negative up top. I'm not moving on. I'm going to review what we did. We had a fraction multiplied by the variable that we want to solve for. Because we had a fraction multiplied, what we wanted to do, quote unquote wanted, was divide by that fraction. But because of our tough math alert and our note at the bottom telling us that division by a fraction is the same as multiplying by the reciprocal, also known as keep, change, flip, we took what we thought would be division by the fraction, changed the division to multiplication, and flipped the fraction over. We did the same on the right side just to make the math easier. We then ended up with negative 12 over negative 12, which we know is going to reduce out to 1. The F just kind of carries on through as part of the multiplication, and we end up with 1 times F, which we don't need the 1, so we just end up writing F. Multiplying fractions is easier, not easy, but easier than adding fractions. We go straight across the top, straight across the bottom. 5 times 4 is 20. 4 times negative 3 is negative 12. We reduce and can move the negative to the top of the fraction if we want. Are there any questions on that problem? Ooh, I have 4 minutes left. Let's try one more. This one is probably more similar to the one that we just... So when we ask ourselves, why is x not alone? What's being done to x? If we read this, what's being done to x?
It's a fraction.
Yeah? And what is a fraction? A fraction is really a what problem? Division. So x is really being divided. What's the opposite of division? Multiplication. So, now wait a minute. Wait. We just said, with that complicated math rule sort of thing, that division by a fraction is the same as multiplication. So, wait, this is really x divided by negative 4/7, which we just looked at. Keep, change, flip. If we keep the x, change division to multiplication, flip the fraction, this is really...
Hold on.
I'm just trying to hurry to get it written down. I promise we'll pick this back up the next time in class.
Okay.
This can be rewritten as x times 7 over negative 4. Because we said division by a fraction, which is what's happening here. Division by a fraction is the same as multiplication by the reciprocal. So if I write out 40 equals x times 7 over negative 4th, the other thing that we can see from that last problem we solved is if we take any fraction, here's another little math note, a fraction times its reciprocal will always equal 1. So we have a fraction. If we multiply by its reciprocal, it will always equal 1. I can turn my 40 into a fraction by putting it over 1. Any number can be turned into a quote-unquote fraction by putting it over 1. Because if I have 40 donuts and I divide them to me, I still get 40 donuts. Right? So putting something over 1 does not change it. This right side would become x times negative 28 over negative 28. I think. Somebody should check my math, though. 4 times 40, and then bring the negative with us. My equal sign is kind of awkwardly positioned here. Sorry about that. What's a number divided by itself? 1, right? This is 1. So we really get 1x on the right side. And guys, I'll review this problem again like the next time we get together. But without me trying to reduce this, it's just this answer. My answer is that negative 160 over 7. That might be reducible, but I'm not sure. And that's it. That is all the time we have for today, for sure. So, real quick, this one's probably, the first one is probably not very wet, so you get 2. Once you guys have your stuff put away, please, right there on your desk and your seat if you would.
Yeah.
So it's not the way that we have to go, but it is a way that once we understand how it works, it is actually easier for us. All right, guys, like I said, we will do more of those. I just wanted you to see one of them before you start trying to have to do them in Khan Academy. I do not plan on assigning more work, at least before Wednesday. So if you're all caught up in math, good for you. Get caught up in other classes. If you're not caught up in math, use this time to get caught up in math. And then we will walk you through the wall. Thank you guys very much. I'll even put this trash can on this desk. Make life easy for you.